did not stalk Chris, but I might now, really based upon several of these answers and the outfit, which you'll be seeing shortly. So the fashion choice that he made that he regrets was the haircut of Detlef Schrempf in second grade. I had to look up Detlef Schrempf. He was a basketball player, is one, I guess. It's like if a Q-tip had just a surge of electrocution, just and it just straight up, and his second grade self rocked it. His hype song would be the bluegrass cover of Such Great Heights, or a sea shanty, perhaps a Gregorian chant, or something that's really going to stand out as not being a jock rock jam. He recommends the sandwiches and salads at Moxie on Broadway. Just very high quality and tasty at a reasonable price. As far as injuries are concerned, he definitely once swung over an arch over a gate, Indiana Jones style. Except the arch was shitty and old. So it shifted on me and I fell on the gate and got a nice 3-inch long scar on the front of my leg. And so he is wounded, but he perseveres. And that being said, please welcome Chris to the stage.
The way we've built our world defines how we civically engage. And tonight, I'm going to talk protests. For starters, why do people protest? Well, there's a feeling that you're not going to get what you want through the system as it is now. You've got to take some sort of direct action. You've got to, really fight the status quo. And how many people does it take to make change? It takes around 3.5% of the population actively protesting to really guarantee change. You can be successful with fewer people, but that's a really good number to shoot for. Now, how do you build that 3.5%? Well, you go network. You talk to friends and coworkers if you like them. Maybe don't talk to them if you don't like them. But you go out and you go be visible and you go protest. We know that protests work, just kind of intuitively through learning about history, and there's also empirical academic research about it too. Protests are a display of power, and they're also a sales pitch for more members. So tonight, I'm going to talk a couple of types of protests: gathering versus obstruction. And let's start with gathering. On the first night of the George Floyd protests in Denver, people without organization, just spontaneously, came together at the state capitol to demonstrate. No one told them where to go. They just knew, because it's very centrally located. It's in a very dense, very walkable part of Denver. And that was just, you didn't need to be told. A few days later, after there was more organization, people met at the state capitol, marched to Performing Arts Center, marched back. So that's gathering. So what about obstruction? Now, when John Lewis marched from across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, that was the only major river crossing between Selma and Montgomery of the Alabama River back in the day. It was a deliberate choke point. And protests aren't a left-wing thing. It cuts across the spectrum. Last year in Denver, we saw an event called the MAGA Drag the Interstate Rally. And French farmers are also known for getting in their tractors and going to Paris and clogging up the streets. So that's protests. What about our cities? Well, the way we've built our cities in America over the past 75 years kind of sucks. And living in a city used to be terrible. But with magical things like sanitation and clean water, we've solved a lot of the problems of living in a city. And that's true of, so cities with old bones that are more compact, a little more dense, are actually better for the environment, they're safer, and it's cheaper to maintain. And that's true whether you're talking Denver or the small town in Indiana where I grew up. Now, small towns, old compact towns foster gathering. Like Georgetown, you can have a Christmas market very easily. And many American towns started this way, but at some point we decided we like cars more than we like people. And so we don't get town squares like this. We get road intersections to protest and gather. And that actually makes it really hard to gather, and it makes your rights very vulnerable. In 2019, RTD added buses for the Women's March. In 2020, they shut off service to downtown. That's possible because of how we chose to build our cities. And that is a choice. So some engagement has moved online. And, these are real protests online. It's not just slacktivism, but it's all obstruction. There's no gathering, there's no building. But even with all those headwinds, something like 20-ish million people, or 6% of the US, came together last year in the BLM protests. It looks something like that. So I'm almost out of time. What about unfucking the world, the title kind of promised? Here's the recipe. Re-legalize building our cities the way we used to. A little more compact, a little more space for people, a little less space for cars. Do it a little bit everywhere, at least, and we'll reap the benefits. But we have to go actively change things. So go out and hack the planet.
Whoops. Yeah, there we are. Why are you wearing a costume tonight?
This is it's a Wednesday, right? Okay. No, this is just my normal Wednesday.
Did you guys see the wings? Check the wings on the back. Yes! I appreciate your costume and I appreciate protesting. Thank you very much. Wow. Okay. We didn't know. And then Pete mentioned, he's like, well, we told everybody that because it's October and Halloween's around the corner, they could come in costume. And I wasn't prepared. I'm very excited. I came as a middle-aged mom. Crushing it.